question that both of you could probably take, which is, or you and I could take. Are BLM or other similar movements today organizing congresses or according to communist socialist methods more generally, for example, having the general meetings, which are common in earlier periods? So it's really about the organizing methods of Black Lives Matter and related organizations compared to those in the past, the Congress idea or the general meeting. Any thoughts on that question, Mike?
Well, I must say I'm something of an unreconstructed Leninist in that I believe that an organization of organizers remains essential. When you're operating across so many fronts, and I think it's clear that the movement will grow and diversify over the next year. It cannot help but do that because of the catastrophe that's befallen working people in this country and the current generation of 16 to 25-year-olds. But it's also because an organization of organizers becomes an archive of experience, of discussion, and of debates. Now, people familiar with the 60s and 70s experience and the disastrous histories of particularly the Maoist groups, but also some of the Trotskyist groups as well, will say, well, you can't have democracy in such an organization of organizers in this party form. And that's, of course, a tremendously valid point to make. Something we don't really explore much because it occurs a little bit later. The LA left did not disappear,
right.
Particularly the white left, but elements of the black left. Punctually in 1973, it continued, but it went down so many blind alleys and took on such a kind of Stalinist form in groups like the Revolutionary, the Communist Party, and so on. So yeah, all that is a valid critique, but I don't think you can get around the central question of how do you conserve experience, debate it, groom new leaders. One of the problems with the current left, I mean, you look at the DSA or Jacobin or groups like that, or the International Socialist Organization, the continuer of the kind of independent Trotskyist movement, which folded up a year ago. And none of these groups really organize working class youth or provide the kind of structure that working class people need in an organization that can acknowledge their basic survival needs. And this becomes even more important in the present situation. But the point is, I mean, look around the country. I mean, to me, the most encouraging and exciting thing is that overwhelmingly what you're seeing are not just college students or left-wing trust fund babies. You're seeing working class kids, white, black, Latino, Asian. And the whole goal of revolutionary organization is that it needs to become an expression of the people that it claims to represent and needs to bring them to leadership and needs to sociologically mirror working class forces. And I don't see much examples of that. I mean, Black Lives Matter, though, it isn't really a party or multi-issue organization. I mean, maybe something of an exception. And of course, there's not much debate about party building anymore either, for reasons that are, historically justified because of the fate of new left organizations that followed a kind of Maoist or Stalinist route.
What Black Lives Matter has done that's impressed me so much, at least here in LA, is these community forums, especially recently around the idea of the people's budget. I wouldn't have thought this was possible, but they are very democratic. They want community people to think about what kind of public safety organizations would you actually like your city to run? What kind of help would you like your tax dollars to pay for? And I mean, it's been a lot harder with the stay-at-home order. They've been trying to do it online, but they've gotten hundreds, in some cases thousands of people participating in these community forums shared by other groups. I mean, Community Coalition, I mentioned them before in South LA. They've been around for 20 or 30 years. They are a group that grooms community leaders starting at the grassroots, and then some of them end up on the city council. Some of them end up in Congress. They too are running these same sort of things, so that when people say, well, you want to abolish the police, what do you want? Thousands of people have spent weeks and months discussing that at these community forums. I'm very impressed.
Right, that's so true. And just for the viewing audience, especially those who may not be in the U.S., people need to know, and you all both know this, there's a distinction between Black Lives Matter as an organization and the Movement for Black Lives, which is a coalition of nearly 100 organizations, and then all these other formations, the Rising Majority, We Charge Genocide, Black Youth Project 100. There's all these organizations that are doing precisely this, and that is trying to hold forums, trying to emulate what happened in Jackson, Mississippi, with the People's Forums, where the election of a progressive mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Lumumba I, was a result of communities coming out and actually publicly debating and discussing what is it we need and how do we get it. And so there's a kind of really massive democratic process that's actually facilitated by social media, even though social media may play the opposite role by convincing people that likes and numbers is the same as organizing, which, this goes back to, I think, Mike's point, that this, you can't simply count people and say that's organization. So it's a really unique moment right now, and it's very exciting. I don't want to lose our time because I got a bunch of questions. This question I'm gonna read,